In alhamdulillah wa salat wa salam ala wa rasulullah. Today we're going to continue with our discussion of how to benefit from the differences of the companions. And today's class will be very sad. Today's class will also put an ending on a lot of issues. You know, here we have two of Islam's greatest leaders, Ali and Muawiya, who were not only great leaders of Islam, they were also eminent companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they were also relatives. They were both fighting for power, for control over the nation. Okay, all because of what the hypocrites did to Uthman. The hypocrites were the ones who staged a rebellion against Uthman. They were the ones responsible for killing Uthman. They were responsible really for all the fitna that the Muslim world was experiencing at this time. They were responsible for the division of Ali and Muawiyah, just as they were responsible for the division of Ali and Abu Musa Shari, and Ali and Emir ibn al-As, and Ali and Aisha, and Ali and Telha, and Ali and Zubair, and everyone else. The companions were split. They were broken. Their Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam had died. He had not even 3 generations had passed by. Not even 2 generations had passed by, and already the Ummah was divided. They not only lost the Prophet, they lost Abu Bakr, they lost Umar, who were the two right arms of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then with the murder of Uthman, that took a blow to this nation, and now Ali, who was forced into the leader of the position of leadership, trying to bring some type of calm to our nation. But was he successful? We stopped off at how, yesterday when we met, we stopped at how Ali and Muawiyah were fighting for control of the nation. Finally, they went into an agreement of a truce. Many say that Muawiyah was the one that proposed the truce, and some say that Ali was the one that proposed the truce. What happened was they agreed. Well, it wasn't really Ali that agreed. Muawiyah had suggested, for right now, let's go into a treaty, a truce. You let me keep control of Egypt and Syria, and you can keep your control over Basra, Kufa, Mecca, Medina. Muawiyah wanted to go into this treaty as a means of trying to develop his army more, to gain more support. And Ali, the only reason why Ali agreed to it was because so many Muslims had lost their lives. So many eminent companions had lost their lives. So many brutalities had been done to the Muslim nation. Ali figured that this would be a time in which the Muslims could try to grieve and also come together as one. He can work at trying to make the people come together as one, which is what the Prophet Muhammad himself did. And both of these companions thought about it, the Hudaybiyah peace treaty. A lot of people, companions, question, why did the Prophet go into that truce with the Quraysh? Because it was a time in which the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam could spend, not fighting, but instead trying to convert people to the new way of life. Well, Muawiyah remembered those times. He was on the opposing side. And of course, Ali remembered he was on the side with the Prophet. So they both agreed to this for their own reasons. Muawiyah, to thinking he could, get more support, build his army up more so he could then take over the territories in which Ali occupied. And Ali figured this would be a time for him to try to put hope back into the hearts of the people, win them back to Islam and its truthfulness, to unite the nation, to bring us together as one. So this is where we left off. Were they successful at this? What happened during this period of truce? This is what we're going to be discussing today. Now, a lot of you have heard of the Kharijites, the Kharijites, the Kharijites, or the Kharij. I have a hard time pronouncing because I can't move my tongue that way, so you have to excuse me. The Kharij, but you guys know what I'm speaking of. Okay? The Kharijites. They exist today. Many of the terrorist groups that we're dealing with today are the Kharijites. Of course, from out of Kufa, out of Syria. How did this movement begin? Well, let me give you guys a little bit of history of the Kharijites. Their movement began after the Battle of Siffin. And remember, we talked about how the Ali and Muawiya had the Battle of Siffin. Well, first of all, let me tell you what that Arabic term, the Kharijites, it means the separatists. The separatists. And this movement began when several Arabic tribes decided to separate themselves from Ali and Muawiya. And those tribes consist of the tribe of Tamim, the tribe of Bakr. This is not Abu Bakr. This is a tribe. Bakr is an Arabic word that means camel. Camel. This is a tribe of Arabs. This has nothing to do with Abu Bakr, who was one of the eminent companions. In fact, Abu Bakr's real name was not Abu Bakr anyway. Abu Bakr was a nickname. Abu Bakr in English means father of the camel. That's a nickname that the Prophet gave to Abu Bakr. He was called the father of the camels because he loved camels. So we're not talking about him. We're talking about the tribe of camels. This is an Arabic Bedouin tribe. Okay, so you had the Tamim tribe, the Bakr tribe, and also another tribe called the Hamdan tribe. These were Bedouin Arabs who had participated in the revolt against Uthman. They were part of the rebellion against Uthman. They were also involved in his murder. Okay? These tribes were stationed across the Arabian Peninsula. Okay, they were the ones who were unhappy with Uthman, didn't like Uthman, accused Uthman of being into the worldly money and all of this stuff. They were the ones that revolted, that initiated the revolt against Uthman. And after they had succeeded in killing Uthman, they were the ones who really killed Uthman. And after they succeeded in killing him, Muawiya raised the cry for vengeance. And when Muawiya swore that he would come after these people, these murderers who had killed Uthman, so horribly killed Uthman, that's when these people, the Kharijites, they allied themselves with Ali. And this is why Ali could not trust his men, the men from Kufa. These men were from Kufa and Basra, and also there were some from Egypt. This is why Ali could never trust these men, because these were the Kharijites. They were the men who were responsible for initiating the rebellion against Uthman and killing him. And he knew the only reason that they were allying themselves with him was not because they supported him, not because they liked him. They didn't like him, just like they didn't like Uthman. But they were allying themselves with Ali as a way of fighting against Muawiya, because Muawiya was out to get him. Okay? They were the ones that fought with Ali in the Battle of the Camel against Aisha. They were the ones who, when Aisha was on the battlefield on top of her camel, they were the ones trying to kill her. When Ali saw that these men were trying to cut down the Prophet's wife, Aisha, the mother of the believers, Ali was the one that sent his personal guard out to cut Aisha's camel's legs off and drag her off the battlefield to protect her. They were the ones who not only killed Uthman, but they were the ones that were trying to kill Aisha during the Battle of the Camel. After the Battle of the Camel, okay, again, these men kept their allegiance to Ali only because they knew Muawiya. These are the men that Muawiya wanted Ali to turn over to him. You guys understand now? They were the men responsible for murdering Uthman. They were the men that Aisha executed when she did succeed in getting vengeance in Basra. And these are the men that, and there were so many of them, it wasn't just a little. Remember, these were three major tribes. three major tribes of Arabs. There were thousands of them, and they had a lot of supporters. These were the people that Muawiyah wanted turned over to him. Okay. Now the Battle of Siffin, as you guys remember, we talked about the Battle of Siffin. This battle occurred after the Battle of the Camel. Remember when Ali wanted to, when Ali fought the Battle of Siffin against Muawiyah, remember he had the upper hand, but his men betrayed him. Remember when Ali's men betrayed him on the battlefield? When Muawiyah's men came on the battlefield with their spears, with verses of the Quran on, remember Ali knew that this was be a trick, and he told his men to keep fighting. Well, they did. They disobeyed Ali. That's the Kharijites. That was they, the men of Kufa and Basra, who played a role in the murder of Uthman. Okay. So at the Battle of Siffin, when Ali could have won that battle, they betrayed Ali and fell for Muawiyah's trick. But let me tell you what happened after they had disobeyed Allah. Disobeyed Ali. This is when, let me tell you a little bit about the Kharijites. The Kharijites believe in democracy. Remember I told you guys before, as Muslims, we don't believe in a democracy. I know a lot of you listen to famous Arabic speakers today here in America, especially. There's a couple of Muslim female women who are famous. They're not scholars of Islam at all, but they're famous speakers here in America, and you guys love these women. I see a lot of their videos on your website. These women are speaking against, speaking for democracy and all of this. As Muslims, we don't believe in democracy. We believe in a caliphate, guys. We really do. What does that mean? That means that, we believe in the laws of Allah. Well, the Kharijites, and maybe now you'll understand, I'm not mentioning names, why they refer to a couple of these women who are famous here in America. These Arab American women, there's a couple of them that are very famous. They on TV all the time. Many of you invite them to y'all mosque. Now do y'all see why Saudi Arabia has labeled them women as being part of the Kharijite movement? The Kharijites, they are people who believed in democracy and are struggling for power. Two people struggling to have one person in power was against their belief, against their way of life. They believed in a democracy. They didn't believe in one person being in control over everyone else. This is why they were so quick to disobey Ali. This is why they overruled Ali and everything he came up with. Okay? After the Battle of Siffin, when they realized that Muawiyah and Ali, their biggest disagreement was who would be the leader over the Muslims. This is when they realized that they didn't want nothing to do with Muawiyah or Ali, because they had their own agenda anyway. They removed Uthman because they didn't believe in one person taking commands from one person. And when they realized that this is what Muawiyah was fighting for, he wanted to not only get vengeance for Uthman, but also replace Ali as leader. This is when they turned against Ali too. They never really supported him anyway. Okay? So after the Battle of Siffin, because remember, the Battle of Siffin, this is when Muawiyah and Ali went into an agreement to hire two arbiters. An arbiter to represent both parties, Abu Musa Ash'ari and Amir al-As, they were the chosen arbiters, and they would decide who would be the caliph. This is when the Kharijites had a problem. Okay? They began to second guess supporting Ali In fact, they began to feel that they had committed a sin because they were the ones that stopped the fighting and agreed to the ceasefire. They didn't like the idea of having one man from each side determine who would be anything. They believed in democracy. They believed in people voting for what they wanted. And again, guys, democracy is not Islam. It really isn't. Okay, we believe in a caliphate. Obey your leader, even if he had a head, even if he was a black man with a head like a raisin. Remember that hadith? Obey the leader over the Muslims. That's the caliph. Obey him, even if he was a black man with a head like a raisin. Okay, well, the Kharijites didn't believe in that. They wanted to elect who they wanted to be caliph and do what they want, make their own call on the laws and rules. Forget about that. We're going to make our own call. Okay? And also, they were fanatics. The Kharijites, they still are. They're fanatics. They claim that they believe in the laws of Allah, and they claim they want the laws of Allah to prevail. Now, this is how you find the hypocrisy amongst them. They claim that they believe that the decision of Allah should be the law of the land, but they don't believe in one person making that law. That's contradiction. So anyway, after the Battle of Siffin, when they were the ones that disobeyed Ali and went into stop fighting against Muawiya, when they realized that what had been agreed to was two umpires would come and decide the fate of everything, oh, they became angry. They then began to blame Ali for accepting Muawiya's proposal when Ali didn't accept anything. They were the ones that forced Ali to stop fighting and do what he did. What happened? So again, this is the nature. This was the nature too of the Kharijites. Put the blame on Ali when they were the ones in control. They had a yoke around his neck and everything. Okay, so that's how the Kharijite movement really began. Okay. And after the Battle of Siffin, that's when many of the Kharijites left Ali's army. Remember, a lot of his men, they refused to go fight in Syria. They wanted to go home to their families. Remember that? And they refused to go and fight. Well, many of them, you know, they abandoned Ali. He lost most of his army. Remember, his army left the battlefield and deserted him. Okay, well, those were the Kharijites. And that's why they deserted him. Okay, because they felt they wanted to blame him for what they did in fire. And they did not want the power of who should be caliph to lie in the decision of one person. It should be voted on and all this other nonsense. So anyway, that's how that happened. And also, guys, remember, after the Battle of Siffin, and after the arbiters had met, we all remember what happened. Abu Musa Ash'ari, you know, called himself representing Ali, which he did to the best of his ability. And then you had Amir al-As representing Muawiya, and they had both agreed that neither one of them should be the caliph, and they should allow the people to vote. Remember, Amir al-As betrayed Abu Musa Ash'ari in that. Well, and that's what led to what happened after that in history. Remember, after the decision of the arbiters came down, Ali refused to step down as caliph. And that's when he wanted to gather his army and ride out to Syria to deal with Muawiya directly, but he couldn't. Why come he couldn't? Because it was the Kharijites. Once again, when Ali fought the Battle of Nahrawan, this was a fight against the Kharijites. Okay? And he succeeded in defeating many of them. But the ones that he didn't defeat, remember, they left. Well, where did they go? They left for Mecca, seeking refuge in the Kaaba, because back in those days, if a person saw that you were fighting against sought refuge in the Kaaba, you couldn't kill them. You had to let them stay in the mosque. You couldn't do anything to them. So those men that Ali did not defeat at the Battle of Nahrawan, those were the Kharijites, and they left and went to Mecca seeking refuge in the Kaaba. But remember, in the meantime, this is when Muawiya has sent his raids out to Arabia. He had sent his raids out to Arabia led by Bakr. And remember, he got the people of Mecca and Medina, threatened them and got them to give allegiance to Muawiya, etc., etc. You know, while they were doing that, Ali was dealing with the Kharijites. Okay. When Ali was able to gather his troops, remember when he heard what was happening in Mecca, Medina, that's when Ali gathered his little troop. I think he had 10,000 men or whatever, not that many. And he went to try to restore the order in Mecca and Medina. He got the people to, again, give their allegiance to him because they were forced to give allegiance to Muawiya. Well, when he arrived in Mecca, the Kharijites were hiding out in the mosque. Okay? And these people were fanatics. They wanted to establish their own kingdoms here on earth, led their way. They had the view that both Ali and Muawiya were fighting for power. And since they were fighting for power, they referred to Ali and Muawiya as being kafir. The same way they are today. If you don't believe what these terrorists believe, they'll call you a kafir. Well, they had already deemed Uthman a kafir, and that's why they killed him. Now they considered Ali to be a kafir and Muawiya because that's how they were. So what the Kharijites did when they were in the Kaaba, they singled out 3 men who they figured to be the cause of all the problems of the Muslim world. And they figured that the only way to end the problems was to kill all 3 of them. And those 3 men were Ali, Muawiya, and Amr ibn al-As. So here you can see the Kharijites, they had no allegiance to Ali. And this is what Ali wanted Muawiya and everyone to see. Man, the people responsible for murdering Uthman, they're here. They're all around me. They have control. I can't. My hands are tied. These people have no allegiance to me. They have no allegiance to you or to anyone else. They're terrorists. But Ali couldn't get no one else to see that these men are terrorists. I can't do. They can't be trusted. Well, the Kharijites, that's how their movement began. They had no support for Ali or for Muawiya, and so they decided that the best thing to do would be to kill all 3 of them. So while they were in Mecca at the Kaaba, the Kharijites, they put their plan together. They appointed 3 young men to carry out the plot of murder. One man named Abdur Rahman ibn Muljam, he was chosen to kill Ali, to go to Kufa and kill Ali. Another young man named Barq ibn Abdullah, he was entrusted with the task of going to Syria to murder Muawiya. And another man, Amr Bakr, and he is not related to Abu Bakr. Again, this is Amr Bakr from the tribe of the camels. He's not related to Abu Bakr at all. But he has a name Bakr, which means camel in Arabic. Again, Abu Bakr's name, not Abu Bakr's real name. So Amr Bakr was assigned the task of killing Amr ibn al-As. He was told to go to Egypt. So here the Kharijites put 3 men, had given 3 men a responsibility. One man was to go to Kufa and kill Ali. who they considered a kafir. Go, and another man was told to go to Syria and kill Muawiya, another kafir, and then the other one was told to go to Egypt and kill Amir al-As. And how did they plan on killing them? They said, well, what we're going to do, back in those days, they used poison. Poison was the weapon of destruction. These young men, they got some poison, and they whitened their swords with it. They were supposed to stab Ali or Muawiya and Amir al-As with the sword, and the poison would kill them. It would be a slow death. It wouldn't be a quick death. It would be a slow death. Just stab them one time, and the poison would get into their bloodstream and kill them. And also, they set the date and time. They said, we're going to do this on the 17th of the month of Ramadan. Look at this. The Kharijites. Have they changed much? All those terrorist attacks, they seem to really like to do attacking during Ramadan. Well, you see where they got their starts at. Here they are. They call themselves God-fearing Muslims. Everybody else is a kafir but them. They call themselves wanting to live by the laws of Allah, but they don't want to accept the caliphate. Okay? They think no one understands the religion better than them, but they don't understand that Ramadan is a sacred month for Muslims. We're not even supposed to fight during that month. But here they were planning to assassinate 3 eminent companions during the holy month of Ramadan. So that was the plan that the Kharijites put in effect. Did they succeed? Well, when the 17th of Ramadan came around, the first man, Barq, Abdullah, he was the one that was assigned to assassinate or kill Muawiya. He arrived in Syria, okay, and went to the mosque there in Damascus. Muawiya was at the mosque getting ready to lead the Fajr prayer. When Barq ibn Abdullah came into the mosque and drew his sword, he was caught. They caught him. So he was caught before he could strike Muawiya. And when they caught him, they cut out his feet and his tongues. And then he was tortured, and they ended up killing him, executing him. So that he didn't succeed. Okay, he did end up striking Muawiya once with his sword, but the wound that Muawiya received was not fatal. He didn't strike him deep enough. Muawiya's doctors were able to deal with the poison. They told him, Muawiya, you got 2 alternatives. You could allow us to cautery you, or there's another potion that you could drink that will neutralize the poison, but it will make you impotent. Muawiya chose to drink the potion that made him impotent. And he did it, and he was cured after a few days. So the man, Barq Abdullah, who was assigned to kill Muawiya, he did not succeed. He arrived at the mosque and went to strike him as he was leading the prayer, but he didn't strike him hard enough. It didn't get deep enough, and he was caught. The people jumped up, caught him, and they ended up killing him. And Muawiya overcame the wound. Muawiya survived. Okay? What about the other attackers? Well, the other man, Amr Bakr, he was the one assigned to assassinate Amir ibn al-As. He was the one assigned to go to Egypt. Okay? He happened to go to the main mosque in Fustat. He went to Fustat. He happened, because that's where Amir ibn al-As. Amir ibn al-As happened to be on the 17th of Ramadan. Amir ibn al-As happened to be at the main mosque in Fustat. Okay, that's where he was. Muawiya was in Damascus as planned. Amir ibn al-As was in Fustat. Well, this man followed him to Fustat, and he went to the main mosque on that appointed day to do what he was supposed to carry out and do. But it just so happened that Amr ibn al-As was in Fustat, but he became sick that morning. Remember, they were supposed to attack at the Fajr prayer and try to kill them when they were leading the people in the Fajr prayer. Well, it just so happened that morning when Amr ibn al-As woke up, he was sick due to some type of colic. He had a colic. So he didn't go to the mosque to lead the prayer. Instead, he appointed his deputy, a man named Kharjite, to go and lead the prayer. Now, the assassin had never met Amr ibn al-As before. He had never seen him before. So he didn't know who he was. But when Kharjite came out to lead the prayer, Amr Bakr thought that that was Amr al-As. So he jumped on him, you know, stroked him one time with his sword. Okay? He was caught and apprehended too, just like his co-conspirator. They caught the man. They took him before Amr ibn al-As. And Amr ibn al-As asked him, what was your motive in trying to kill Kharjite? Why did you try to kill this man in the mosque? Especially when he was trying to lead the prayer. And that's when, just like they are today, the Kharijites are not ashamed. Just like the terrorists today, whenever they commit an atrocity, they are proud to let you know they did it. This man did not deny it. He said, I wasn't trying to kill him. He said, I was trying to kill you. He said, I just didn't know that he was not you. He said, if I had known he was not you, I would have waited and got you at another time. When Amr ibn al-As heard that that was the reason why he did it, they executed this man. And as you can see, the Kharijites have not changed. When these terrorists do all this bombing and killing and beheading, they don't have a problem letting the world know they did it. They have no shame. They didn't have no shame then because they really believe in their cause. They really believe that everybody's a kafir but them. They really believe if you do not believe in their ideology, if you do not accept their rules and believe like them, you're a kafir. So since you're a kafir, we can just kill, crush, destroy. They believe that then, and they still do today. So their plot for murdering or killing Amr ibn al-As did not succeed. So they failed in killing Muawiya. Allah brought their plan to light. And they failed in killing Amr ibn al-As. But what about Ali? What happened with him? Well, hold on, let me try to get the PowerPoint to work. Okay, there it is. The man assigned to assassinate Ali was a man named Abdur Assassin of Ali. He was supposed to go to Kufa on the 17th of Ramadan, wait for Ali to come out and lead the Fajr prayer, and then attack him too. Well, Abdur Rahman ibn Muljam, he arrived in Kufa before the designated day. And there's always some woman involved behind every famous man. Whether the person is famous for a good reason or famous for a bad reason, there's always a woman involved, right? Throughout history. No matter if the person does something good or bad, there's always a woman involved. Well, this man, Abdur Rahman, he arrived in Kufa before, like I think they said maybe a few weeks before the 17th of Ramadan. And when he arrived there, he fell in love with a Kharijite girl named Khatum. And they say she was a very beautiful woman. She had a face as beautiful as the moon, and she had long jet black hair that came all the way down to the ground almost. Her father and her brother had been killed in the Battle of Nahrawan, and she wanted to avenge their death. Remember, that's when Ali, had to fight against the Kharijites. Okay? She wanted to avenge her father and brother's death. So when Abdur Rahman ibn Muljam fell in love with her, she agreed to marry him on one condition. She said, I will marry you if you will give me as a dowry bring me the head of Ali as a dowry. She said, you bring me Ali's head and I'll marry you. That's my dowry. Because she said, I want revenge for him killing my father and my brother. Abdur Rahman ibn Muljam said, no problem. That's what I'm here for anyway. He said, I'm here to kill him anyway. So I'll give you that dowry. I just want you to be mine. Okay? And so they were so greedy for this revenge. And he wanted her because she was so beautiful, that they also employed 2 more Kharijites to help in the assassination of of Ali. Okay, one of them was a man named Wardan, who was a cousin or something of the woman Khatum, and the other one was a man named Shabib ibn Bijra, who came from another tribe of Kharijites. Okay, so 3 of them planned how they was going to do it. So on the morning of the 17th day of the month of Ramadan in this year, the 3 men went to the main mosque in Kufa right before Fajr. They took their positions in the prayer hall, waiting for Ali. After a little time went by, Ali came, and the mosque was dark because it was right before Fajr. They didn't have lights back then, electricity, and nobody else was in the mosque. Ali came to prepare for prayer, and when he stood to pray, Wardan struck his sword at Ali, but he missed him. Then Abdur Rahman, he jumped up and struck Ali on the forehead, and he struck him deep with his poison sword, and the sword penetrated the brain of Ali. After that, the 3 men left. They ran from the mosque. And when the people came in, the people started coming in then to pray Fajr. They found Ali still alive, but he was lying wounded on the prayer rug. He was still alive though, but he was lying in a puddle of blood on the floor. So that's when the people ran looking for trying to find who did this. They came upon Wardan. They found him. He fought. He refused to be taken as a captive, like the terrorists do today. They fight to the death, so he was killed. They finally caught up to Abdur Rahman, and they took him into custody. The 3rd man, he ran and escaped. They didn't catch him at all. But they did have Abdur Rahman. And of course, just like the terrorists are today, Abdur Rahman confessed his guilt. He didn't deny it. Yeah, I killed him. I tried to kill him. In fact, he told them, he said, the reason I struck Ali, I struck him in the name of Allah. And the reason why I was killing him was for the sake of Allah, because Ali was seeking power. Ali had committed a sin. Ali was guilty of killing thousands of innocent Muslims. This is why they do it for the sake of Allah, because somebody done violated one of Allah's laws. Well, here he told the people Ali is considered a kafir because Ali has killed thousands of Muslims, and Ali was all about power. When Ali was on his bed, with his wounds. When Ali heard the reason why this man claimed he was trying to kill him, Ali cursed him. He said, may Allah curse you. How dare you refer to me as being a kafir? How dare you accuse me of this when you and your supporters, your men, your people are the instigators of all this fitna. All this fitna that the Muslims are facing today is because of you and your people, your supporters, he told. The ones responsible for dividing the companions, us against each other, turn us against. You guys had Aisha on the battlefield. You destroyed my relationship with Ibn Abbas. How dare you? So he cursed this man. But being the good believer that Ali was, he said, even though this man is wrong for what he did, he said, I do not want you guys to torture him. He said, because in Islam, we are forbidden to torture any prisoners of war. He says, so y'all take him in custody, put him in jail, but do not torture him. Feed him food, keep him clean. So that shows what a believer Ali was. He still said, we're going to keep him in custody, but we're not going to violate his rights because we adhere to the laws of Allah, the real laws of Allah, unlike him and his people. Also, Ali said, if I recover, if it is Allah's decree for me to recover from this wound, he said, then I will decide what type of punishment to give this man. But if it is Allah's decree that I die as a result of this wound, he said, then you guys execute him, but don't torture him. You take the sword and give him one stroke and kill him in one stroke. He said, and do not mutilate his body, nor torture, or any of that, because all of that is against Islam. Mutilation is against Islam, so is torture. Give him one good blow, and that's it. So here you can see, guys, this is why Ali was the best of this nation. When Muawiyah's captor, when Muawiyah's attempted assassinator had been captured, they tortured him. When Amr ibn al-As had been captured, they tortured him too. And torture is against Islam. Here Ali did his the right way. Hold him as a prisoner, feed him, keep him clean, don't abuse him. I'll decide what to do with him if I survive this wound. If I don't, then you know you should execute him, but do it the way Allah said, with one stroke, and don't abuse him or mutilate his body. Needless to say, guys, Ali did not have the decree that Amr ibn al-As and Muawiyah had. The wounds of Ali proved to be fatal. This is how Ali died, guys. No antidote could be found to counteract the poison that had penetrated into his head and now into his bloodstream. What happened was Ali's condition deteriorated, because that's what poison did. Poison in those days was a slow, painful death. His condition deteriorated, and he died on the 24th of January. And in Allah wa inna ilayhi rajiun. That's how we lost our beloved Ali. Okay? So here you guys can see all this fitna emerged during the time of Uthman. The Kharijites, they were the first deviant sect. People, on the day of judgment, many of my foul followers will be brought to drink from my pool, and many of them will be dragged away, and I will recognize the faces of some of them, and I will say, those are my companions, those are my companions, those are my companions. And it will be said to me, "O Muhammad, you do not know what they did after you were gone. These are the ones who changed the religion of Allah and made it into something else. And their punishment will be the hellfire." Those are the Kharijites, the Kharijites, the Kharijite, however you pronounce it, because I can't get my tongue to move correctly on that one. But I can say Kharijites better. Those are the Kharijites. These are the men who, many of them, they were with the Prophet Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But when the Prophet left, they changed the religion. And whenever you change religion, that means you ain't no Muslim no more. They want to refer to people as being kafir. They were the ones who were kafir. Whenever we fail to accept the rules of Islam, the laws of Islam, when you deny any of the pillars, you deny any of Allah's injunctions, you are the one that's the kafir. So these are the ones, and these are not the eminent companions. Abu Musa Shari, guys, was not a Kharijite. Neither was Amir ibn al-As, none of them. These are other companions who we don't even mention. These are companions that the hadiths don't even mention. Okay? Remember, there's one hadith, for example, whereas one of the companions, I think it's Amir ibn al-As, tells us in that hadith how the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam ordered the paying of zakat on your property. This man, a man from the tribe of Tamim, stood up and he said, I will not pay that or whatever. And then he goes on to say, I saw this man fighting against us on the battlefield during the war between Ali and Muawiya, you know. So, you know, these are the men that are mentioned like that in those hadiths. I saw him die with the hypocrites, or I saw him fighting against us. Also another hadith, the man who refused to eat with his right hand. Remember that hadith? The Prophet told him, you have to use your right hand. This man refused. He was from the tribe of Tamim too. He refused to use his right hand, so Allah made it so he could never use that hand again. And then the companions go on to say, I saw him, that's Ibn Abbas, one of his hadiths, I saw him fighting and die on the battlefield with the hypocrites. Okay, these are the men, these are the Kharijites. They were with the Prophet, and then after he died, murdering Ali, murdering Muawiya, murdering many of them and their companions. The Kharijites. They're still amongst us today. These are our terrorists. And where do they come from? Those three main tribes, and they were stationed in Iraq and Syria and Iraq, many of them in Egypt. They're still there. Egypt, Iraq, Syria. Okay. So that's what happened, guys. We lost the Caliph Ali. He was murdered. Ali was murdered by the same man who murdered his brother Uthman. What happened after this? Well, what I'm going to do tomorrow, guys, I'm going to give you a quiz to cover what we talked about today. And then I'm going to share with you the next day, guys, Ali left a beautiful will, because Ali knew that he wasn't going to live, you know. He left behind some beautiful reminders to the people, because even on his deathbed, he tried to still give the people hope to restore the true Islam that had been taken away. So I'm going to share with you guys in our next lecture the last will and testament, his last words that were written down, and also the beautiful eulogy that his son Hassan gave. And then we'll talk about what happened after that. Did the Kharijites, what happened? Who took control? Who took leadership then? Did Muawiya finally realize his fault, his mistakes? Did Muawiya finally then pick up the sword and for the right reason? We'll pick up and continue later. So we'll stop right here. If you guys have any questions or comments, please go ahead and type them on the screen.